Sarah Chen stared at her phone's notification. Daily screen time, 9 hours 42 minutes. The soft blue glow illuminated her face in the darkness of her bedroom, the only light source in her luxurious but eerily empty apartment on the 47th floor. Outside her window, Neo-Singapore's endless stream of autonomous vehicles created rivers of light against the midnight sky, their quiet electric hum a constant reminder of humanity's progress. At 32, she was exactly where society said she should be, Chief Innovation Officer at Asia's largest tech conglomerate, GlobalTech. Her artificial intelligence algorithms helped optimize everything from traffic patterns to personal shopping experiences. The media called her a visionary. Time magazine had featured her last month, the woman designing tomorrow's world. Yet here she was, alone at 2 a.m., scrolling through filtered images of other people's carefully curated lives. The irony wasn't lost on her. She had helped build this hyper-connected world where everyone was simultaneously more connected and more isolated than ever before. A message popped up from her mother. "Your father's memory implant is malfunctioning again. The doctors say the neural interface is rejecting the latest update. Please call when you can." Sarah's throat tightened. Her father, once a brilliant literature professor, had been among the first to adopt neural enhancement technology. The promise was simple: preserve your memories forever, enhance your cognitive capabilities, stay relevant in a world that moved too fast for biological brains to keep up. Nobody had predicted the compatibility issues that would arise as newer updates rolled out. She switched off her phone and walked to the window, pressing her forehead against the cool glass. 50 years ago, this had been a quiet fishing village. Now it was the tech capital of Asia, where tradition and hypermodernity collided in strange and sometimes beautiful ways. The old temple next door still burned incense every morning, the smoke now mixing with the exhaust from delivery drones. A movement caught her eye. An old man in the temple courtyard, practicing Tai Chi in the moonlight. Mr. Lee, the temple keeper. He was probably the only person left in the city who didn't have a single technological implant or enhancement. Sarah had spoken to him exactly once, 6 months ago when she first moved in. "Young lady," he had said, smiling as she hurried past in her smart suit, "would you like to learn to be still?" She had politely declined, citing meetings and deadlines. His words had haunted her ever since. The next morning, Sarah sat in GlobalTech's main conference room, surrounded by holographic displays showing the company's latest project, Connect Life 3.0, bringing humanity closer together. The irony of discussing human connection while everyone attended virtually through their neural interfaces wasn't lost on her. The new social algorithm will anticipate users' emotional needs before they even realize them, her team leader was explaining. By analyzing brain patterns, social interactions, and environmental factors, we can predict and prevent loneliness, anxiety, and depression. By pushing more targeted content and connections? Sarah found herself asking. The room fell silent. "Isn't that like treating dehydration with salt water?" The team leader blinked, his neural interface flickering. "The data shows user satisfaction increases by 47% with—" "I'm not asking about user satisfaction," Sarah interrupted. "I'm asking about actual human well-being." Later that afternoon, she found herself walking into the temple courtyard. Mr. Lee was sweeping leaves, his movements deliberate and peaceful. "Ah," he smiled. "You've returned to learn about stillness." This time Sarah nodded. Over the next few weeks, Sarah developed a routine. Every morning before work, she would spend an hour in the temple courtyard. Mr. Lee taught her Tai Chi, but more importantly, he taught her to observe the way sunlight filtered through leaves, how birds sang different songs at different times of day, the rhythm of human life that persisted beneath the technological overlay of the city. "Your generation has created amazing things," he told her one morning. "But in your rush to solve every problem, you've forgotten that some things aren't problems to be solved. They're experiences to be lived." The words struck something deep within Sarah. That evening, she began reviewing GlobalTech's upcoming projects with new eyes. The company was developing technology to optimize children's play for educational outcomes, algorithms to suggest the most compatible romantic partners based on neural patterns, and systems to automatically manage people's schedules for maximum productivity. Every aspect of human life was being analyzed, optimized, and sanitized. She thought about her father, once passionate about poetry, and now struggling to remember his own name without his malfunctioning implant. She thought about her own perfectly optimized life, full of virtual connections but devoid of real touch. That night, Sarah wrote a proposal, not for a new technology, but for a new direction. She called it the Human Initiative. 2 weeks later, she stood before GlobalTech's board of directors. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. We've been so focused on optimizing human experience that we've forgotten what makes us human, she began. Our technology has created a world where we're constantly connected but rarely present, where we can access all human knowledge but have forgotten how to think deeply, where we can preserve our memories but have stopped making memorable moments. The board members shifted uncomfortably as she continued. I propose a radical shift. Instead of creating technology that replaces human experience, let's create technology that enhances it. Instead of optimizing away our imperfections, let's build tools that help us embrace our humanity, messiness and all. She outlined her vision, AI systems that encouraged offline interaction rather than replacing it, social networks that prioritize depth over breadth of connection, and interfaces that acknowledge the importance of silence and stillness. Most importantly, she concluded, I propose we start including philosophers, artists, and spiritual leaders in our development process. Because the question isn't just what we can do with technology, but what we should do. The room erupted in debate. Some board members dismissed her ideas as regressive. Others saw the potential for a new market segment. But the CEO, an elderly woman who had started her career programming computers the size of rooms, sat in thoughtful silence. Finally, she spoke. Ms. Chen, what you're proposing would require us to completely rethink our approach to technology development. It would be expensive, risky, and might not show profits for years, she paused. It's exactly what we need to do. Over the next 5 years, Sarah led GlobalTech's transformation. The company developed new guidelines for humane technology that were eventually adopted industry-wide. They created AI systems that helped people recognize when they needed to disconnect, interfaces that encouraged mindfulness, and social networks that prioritized meaningful relationships over engagement metrics. It wasn't easy. There were failures, setbacks, and constant pressure from shareholders wanting quick returns. But gradually, things began to change. The temple courtyard became a testing ground for new ideas. Sarah's team would observe how people naturally interacted, then design technology that enhanced rather than replaced these interactions. Mr. Lee became an unofficial advisor, his ancient wisdom helping shape the future of technology. One morning, 10 years after that first sleepless night, Sarah stood in the temple courtyard watching the sunrise. The city had changed. Between the skyscrapers, urban gardens flourished. People still used technology, but it no longer dominated their lives. In parks and public spaces, you could see people practicing Tai Chi alongside others, using augmented reality for exercise, each respecting the other's choice. Her phone buzzed, a gentle vibration instead of the demanding ping of years past. It was a message from her father. The new neural interface, designed to work with the brain's natural processes rather than replace them, had helped him regain most of his memories. More importantly, it had helped him make peace with the ones he'd lost. Coming to Sunday dinner? He asked. Your mother's cooking real food, no synthetic proteins. Sarah smiled and typed her reply. Then she put her phone away and joined Mr. Lee for their morning Tai Chi practice. As they moved through the ancient forms, she reflected on how far they'd come and how far they still had to go. The city hummed around them, a blend of the ancient and the ultra-modern. Delivery drones flew overhead, while temple bells rang in the distance. In apartments above, people were waking up to AI assistants that now reminded them to take breaks, enjoy moments of silence, and connect with loved ones in person. It wasn't perfect. Technology still caused problems, and people still struggled to find balance. But they were learning. Slowly, they were remembering how to be human in a digital age. As the sun rose fully above the horizon, Sarah thought about the lesson she'd learned all those years ago. Progress isn't just about moving forward. It's about knowing what to preserve. In their rush to build the future, Humans had nearly lost their humanity, but they had also proven that they could use their creativity and innovation to find their way back. The real challenge wasn't choosing between tradition and progress, but learning how to carry the best of the past into the future. It wasn't about rejecting technology, but about ensuring technology served human needs, rather than reshaping humans to serve technological efficiency. Mr. Lee finished his practice and turned to Sarah with his familiar smile. "Shall we have tea?" Sarah nodded, following him into the temple. As she sat on the worn cushion and watched him prepare tea, with the same careful movements people had used for centuries, she felt profoundly grateful for this moment. No optimizations, no augmentations, just two humans sharing time together. Outside, the city was waking up to another day in this new world they were building, one where technology and humanity had finally learned to dance together rather than fight for control. It wasn't the future she had imagined as a young programmer, but it was the future humanity needed. And in the end, that was the greatest progress of all.